Right now, for more insight, we welcome to studio Avi Melamed, founder and CEO of Inside the Middle East Intelligence and a geopolitical analyst, and Dr. Arik Rudnitsky, a researcher at the Arab-Jewish Relations Program at the Israel Democracy Institute and project manager at the Moshe Dayan Center at Tel Aviv University. Gentlemen, thank you both for being here on this day. Avi, I want to start with you because we heard those updates live now from my colleagues on the ground. You have been in this region for a very long time. What is your sense 9 days in? The rocket fire is still continuing, the sirens still sound, people are racing to shelters, the retaliation operation continues. What is your take on what is transpiring right now?
Well, unfortunately, we see the repeating round of violence. We have to remember something very significant. Gaza Strip is controlled by a major terror organization that vows to eliminate the state of Israel. There is a big regional player that supports Hamas in Gaza Strip. It's called Iran. The Iranians are interested in further fueling the flames. And I'm emphasizing that because in the end of the day, if you want to try to find a way out of that, and it's going back now to the Western governments and particularly Biden administration, you have to understand that what's going on in Gaza has to do with the discussion with the Iranians. The more the West will be outreaching to the Iranians, the more the situation will get severe. If the West is going to suffocate the Iranian support, we could start seeing some breakthrough.
Very briefly, Arik, your thoughts on exactly that, the role that Iran could be playing in what we're seeing right now. Very briefly, please.
Definitely, we cannot disconnect the role of Iran with what is taking place in the Gaza Strip. But we have to take into consideration that Iran is preoccupied with its own problems, especially the nuclear discussion, the nuclear deal that it would like to discuss again with the US.
Gentlemen, stay with us in studio. We've got lots more to unpack on exactly what is fueling the various flare-ups we're seeing not only across the border, but also in parts of the West Bank as well. But at the moment, we're going to take a very short break. Our breaking news coverage continues with more live updates from our team of field reporters in Ashkelon, Jaffa, and the Israel Gaza. Now, Avi Melamed, founder and CEO of Inside the Middle East Intelligence and a geopolitical analyst, and Dr. Arik Rudnitsky, a researcher at the Arab-Jewish Relations Program at the Israel Democracy Institute and project manager at the Moshe Dayan Center at Tel Aviv University. And Arik, I want to pick up what we were discussing before the break, and we were speaking about the tensions at play in the region right now, specifically for the Israeli Arab community. Given your expertise in this field, what are the issues that are driving the current flare-ups that we're seeing right now, complicated as it is?
Historically, we can see that every 2 decades or so, there is a popular intifada or a breakup in the Arab community in Israel. We witnessed the historical Land Day in 1976 and then the October 2000 events. And here, what comes to be the May 2021 events. And the unique issue here is that although for a glance, we might consider it as a nationalist uprising inside the Arab communities in Israel. I would not go further into this conclusion because among the protesters, actually, we can identify 2 layers. Those who raise these nationalist slogans, as we heard from Pierre, and those who are actually unemployed, like the lost generation among the young Arab generation, who actually are used to take an action, a violent action, as soon as they feel like frustrated from like state policies or any change in the Sheikh Jarrah neighborhood or the Al-Aqsa Mosque in Jerusalem. So all in all, the picture is quite mixed today, but one thing cannot be ignored is the implication for this uprising is for the entire Arab community in Israel, because the entire Arab community is holding the strike right now, one-day strike, which is like an historical event. But the real issue here is the days to come and the way to rebuild the relations between the Arab minority, Arab Palestinian minority, and state authorities and the Jewish majority.
Your take, Avi, on exactly that, the tensions that are boiling over, and which leaders need to be sending out a message now to try and quell tensions that you are describing, Arik, to make sure that the situation isn't out of control down the line?
Are you referring to the Israeli Jews and the Israeli Arabs? Well, my observation is basically to say what we are looking at is that when we had in the peak of these riots, we had basically hooligans from both sides that were taking advantage. But I want to be very clear. Overwhelming majority of Jews and Arabs in Israel are moderate people. They want to have life. They want to have a future. And it is something very significant to understand. The Israelis, Arabs express solidarity with the issue of Al-Quds and so on, but they don't support Hamas. Remember, Hamas is a radical Islam movement. Israeli Arabs will never ever really adopt Hamas for gazillions of reasons, and we have to remember that. Hamas is counting, or was counting, on that. He was very much anticipating to see today riots in Israeli Arabs communities. It didn't happen. It's a major blow for Hamas.
I totally agree. I totally agree because the slogans was more nationalist than Islamist. Actually, while all this conflict is taking place, paradoxically, the Islamic stream within Israeli politics, headed by Mansour Abbas, is still putting on the negotiations to join a future coalition, be it the Change bloc or the bloc headed by Benjamin Netanyahu. So I would say that they support the Palestinian people and the Arab residents of East Jerusalem, and not Hamas with all its ideological background.
We spoke to various